Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my 5 favorite baits for fall fishing. As we all know, it's starting to turn into fall now, and the fish are starting to slow down as the water cools down, and these 5 baits are sure to catch you some bites in the fall turnover. Starting off with the first thing is going to be a 10-inch power worm like this one. Now, big bass love big worms like this, but the key is to fish it very slow and very patiently. This is a bait where you're only going to get a bite every few casts. You're not going to get a bite on every cast or every other cast with a bait like this. You might cast 30 times and not even get a bite. So you got to fish this patiently and slowly. You can't rush a bait like this either. You want to put a 4 or 5/0 hook in something like this, and you just cast it out. You let it sink. It falls through the water like this. And then you just slowly drag it through the bottom every once in a while. And eventually you'll have a big bass bite that, especially during the fall when they're trying to fatten themselves up for the winter. Next up is a topwater plug. Now, during the fall, a lot of the vegetation starts to die out and there's less and less grass towards the top, which leaves yourself a perfect opportunity to throw something like this over the top and make a disturbance on the top of the water, and fish in the lower grass will come up to go and eat that. It's a really nice bait for early fall, not so much towards the end of the time when fish are a little bit more lethargic. They don't really want to spend the effort on getting a bait like this. Next up is a swim bait like this one. Now, the key to fishing a swim bait and the key to fishing in fall in general is to fish slow, because the fish are generally more lethargic and more slow because they're not trying to expend a lot of energy. So you fish a bait like this, you just reel it kind of slowly through the water like that. And sometimes if you're not getting any bites, you're going to want to downsize to a smaller one. This one's like 4 inches, while this one's like 7. So you're going to want to downsize if you're not getting a lot of bites on it, because that means the fish in the area are just not willing to hit such a large bait. Next up, we have a jig like this black and blue one. Now, a lot of times in the early to mid-fall, a lot of fish will actually start holding on some kind of structure under the water, and they'll just start eating bait that's next to there. They'll just kind of sit there and wait for something to pass in front of them. So if you can pitch a jig right in front of them and they see it, you'll have a good chance of catching a fish on that. And finally, we have a crankbait. Now, specifically a deeper diving crankbait like this one. As you can see, it has the much bigger bill on it. Now, what this is going to do is, as the water gets cooler, the water towards the top is actually going to be less cool than the water at the bottom, because the water actually acts as its own insulation. So when the water gets cooler, fish actually tend to go deeper. And what's going to happen is this crankbait will be able to go down to where those fish are, and you'll be able to drag it around, and the rattles in it sometimes excite the fish a little bit, especially when they're, feeding in the fall like this.